Hello everyone. So in this video we are going to continue with pointers. So just a quick review and remember the good programming practice. Every time you are having a pointer, please make sure to name the pointer with any name, and then after that append it with PTR or pointers. So for example, we can have a variable a and then a pointer to a, which can be a pointer. Okay, so just to make sure that like every time you are looking at a, you know that this is a pointer to a. Okay, the other thing also, it just every time you are initializing a pointer and you want to make sure that this initialization went right, so in this case you have to make sure that it's not pointing to null. I think this is supposed to be null. Okay, and in this case you are just going to say if pointer equals null. In this case, print error message and then exit 0. Okay, and then for arithmetic and logical operations on pointers, we can have arithmetic operations, we can increment pointer, we can decrement pointer, and at the same time, if you want to know how incrementation is going, so you have to look at the following. For example, if you have a double pointer, okay, and you add it to the double pointer, in this case, what is the size of the double pointer? It is 8. So adding 2, this means that you are adding 16 to the address. Okay, and to understand this well, let's look with each other now on this program. So if you look here, I have an int array, which is having 10 elements, a double array, B, which is having 10 elements, and then a char array, which is having 10 elements. And each printf here, okay, we have 3. The first one is just writing that this is for int. The second one is printing the first element, or the address of the first element in the array, and then adding 1 to this address, okay, and then printing it. So what is expected here? We are expecting that we have the first address and then the second address is 4 plus the first address. Why 4? Because this is an int and int size is 4, right? For this one, it's double, and here you will find the address of the first one in the element, first element in the array, and then plus 1 means that you will add 8. Why adding 8? Because this is double and size of double is 8. Okay, the same thing here, char. The first address will be printed for the first element, and then the second address will be incremented by 1 because I know that the size of char is 1. Okay, so let's run this program with each other and see how this will happen. So this program is named pointers jump, and when running it, you will find that jump for int here, going from address 0 to address 4, jump for doubles is going from address 0 to address 8. Jump for char is going from address 6 to 7, right? I'm just saying the last unit in the address. But if you can see here, the pointer jump is based on the type of the pointer. If it is int, I will jump by 4. If it is double, I will jump by 8. If it is char, I will jump by 1, okay? Then, now let's start to see pointers with strings. So until now, everything we know about strings, that we can have declaration for a string as char string, for example. And from this declaration, you can see that I'm just having, let's write it here, char, let's say string var 5. And here I'm saying that, hey, I'm having a string which is having 5 characters, right? And including the null character, okay? So if you remember, while we are working with strings before introducing pointers, every time we are having scanf, we said, okay, remember that within this scanf, please don't use the AND operator, right? And why we are doing that? Because if we are using, like having an int variable and we are scanning, so scan and then %d, and then we are saying and a, for example. Okay, where here a is an int variable. So if you look at this one, we said we have to put the AND operator because we want to go to the address of A, right? But for strings, strings are actually pointers. So here the name of the variable, this is actually the address of the first character of the string. This is why we are not putting the AND operator. This is not used here. Why it is not used? Because I already have an address. So why I'm going to use an AND operator? Okay, so strings are pointers to the first, or the string name is a pointer for the first element or first char in the string. Okay, so every time you are dealing with the strings, you may make sure that you are dealing with pointers. This is why if you look to this example, we have char string 32 and then char asterisk pointer. So we have here a pointer, and here I have the pointer address is assigned to the string address. And remember that here I'm having both of them equals to each other without any AND operator. Why? Because this is an address and this is an address. Okay, so this is why actually we are having both of them equals to each other. And then if I use string copy, string and test, this means that I'm going to copy test into string, right? It's exactly the same if you used pointer and test. Why? Again, because the string name is actually a pointer. So this is why this is very like naive example, but I can say this is a toy example to show you the idea. But why to use a pointer with the strings? Since they are already pointers, right? So this is why we are not dealing with pointers with the strings. Why? Because strings are already pointers. But we didn't say that when we introduced strings, right? So again, every time you are dealing with a string, you are dealing with pointers. This is why if you look at this example, okay, I have here char string equals to test, and then char pointer, and then int I, and then this is very nice for loop. It's having two incrementations and two initializations. So one initialization, which is initializing the pointer to the address of the string, and then initializing I equals to 0. And here the condition is saying that the value, the asterisk mean the value of the pointer, okay, so the value of the pointer which is pointing to, not equal to null operator. This means that I'm saying here I didn't reach the end of the string, right? So my condition here that I didn't reach the end of the string, right? So once you reach it, this for loop will terminate, okay? And then p++ and I++. So you are incrementing the pointer and incrementing the counter, which is I. So if you look here, this for loop is terminated. So this for loop is going to loop all the time, and that's it, right? And then finally, printf, the length of the string is, and then printing I. This means that I will increment with the pointer until the pointer will say, hey, stop. I'm now at the null terminator. And at this point, you will find that I is the number of elements in the string. So this is actually to find the number of elements, in the string. Okay, so let's now deal with arrays. And again, it's the same thing. Arrays are already pointers. What the meaning of that? When you say int a5, this means that you are referring to the address. If we just took a, this is address of the first element in the array. So again, when we dealt with arrays before, we didn't say anything about pointers, right? But now arrays are actually pointers, are addresses, okay? So in this case, you will find that a by itself is the address of the first element. So what about a plus 1? This is the address of the second element, and so on, right? So in this case, you can see that I can find the address of the first element in this way, or just writing A. Both are exactly the same, okay? So for example, if you look here, you will find that I can get any element, okay, or the address of any element by having a plus x, where x is the index, okay, or a of x and before it having and. So these are two ways of getting the addresses, okay? And then if you want to get the value, use the same thing. But if you are dealing with pointers, you are going to use before it an asterisk, okay? But if you are not dealing with pointers and just dealing with arrays, so in this case, you just need to have a of x and that's it, okay? So let's see this example. So in this example, you will find that I'm having float a of 6. So I have 6 elements here from index 0 to index 5. And then float asterisk the men. So in this case, I'm having a pointer called the men. And this pointer is pointing to the first element in the array. And again, you can write it in this way or just write a. Okay? And then having another float pointer, which is called walker. And this is assigned to the first element of the array. And again, you can write it as and a of 1 or a plus 1 directly without and. Okay? And then while walker less than and a of 6, this means that I'm saying that while walker, which is the pointer that I have, is less than a of 6, which is a of 6 is out of the boundary, right? So this means that I want in this while loop to stop maximum at a of 5, right? So the while loop will go from a of 1, a of 2, a of 3, a of 4, a of 5, and once it having a of 6, this will terminate the while loop. And then if walker is less than the men, in this case the men will equals to the walker, and then finally walker equal walker plus 1. What is the function of this program? Try to think about it. Even pause the video and try to think. Finally, you will find that we are trying to find the minimum element in the array. And if you remember, we did that before when dealing with arrays, and we didn't deal with pointers, but this time we are doing the same program but using pointers. Okay, so again, arrays, you can deal with arrays in two ways. The first way, to get the value, you can say a of 1, okay, and then another way of getting the value is saying asterisk a plus 1, because a is address of the first element and plus 1 will go to the next element, right? And then if you want to get the address, you can say and a of 1, which is exactly the same a plus 1. Okay, so remember this because when you are dealing with arrays, you can deal in this way or that way. Both are 100% okay. Thanks very much for watching.